Welcome to the Nursing Post podcast, All Nursing All the Time with Ashley Moore and Rosa Horsley. In this episode, we discuss childhood obesity. It is always our goal to inform and start conversation. And in this episode, we're hoping to start a lot of conversations.
Yes, this is not in any way an episode in which we are belittling anything. It's very informational, so that way we can understand why there is childhood obesity and how to combat it and try to work to fix it because that leads to obese adults.
Well, it's an epidemic. And
Mhm.
my philosophy, the more you know, the more you grow. So
Yes.
that's what our goals are.
So childhood obesity has more than tripled in the last 4 decades, and it is something that we see and hear a lot of. But it's such a taboo subject that people don't really talk about it. They speak on it, but don't really talk about it and get to the meat and give people the information that they really need to move forward.
I agree with that. Let's say you're sitting at a restaurant. It can be anyone, right?
Mhm.
You see an obese child in a family eating, they're probably not having a healthy salad.
Right.
They're probably, I don't know. This nation is so big on hamburgers and French fries. So I'm just going to put it out there that they're probably sitting down and eating a hamburger and a French fry.
Mhm.
But there are so many other healthier alternatives at restaurants than that.
Oh, absolutely.
But imagine going up to that family member out of concern and saying, this probably wasn't the right meal choice, and see
Right.
how well that goes over.
Not
See if you don't leave wearing the hamburger.
right. And so this is where it's so important for healthcare professionals to be able to talk about this, approach patients, family members about obesity and actually be helpful.
Exactly.
Saying your child's obese is not going to be news to anybody that has a child that's obese. They already
Not at
know that.
all.
They already know that their child is overweight.
And you're right. That's why I'm saying, okay, if I go to that table and I'm out of legit concern trying to tell this
Mm.
person, well, maybe instead of the French fries, we could have opted for like a baked potato,
Right.
or,
Eat the
I'm
hamburger,
going to be
but
wearing the French fries. That's
add
just the bottom
add a
line,
vegetable. Right.
and this is what our statistics show. Obesity now affects 1 in 5 children and adolescents in the United States. That's 1 in 5. Now count your nieces, nephews, aunt, and tell me how many you have.
Mhm.
More than 18% of children are obese, making it the most common chronic disease of childhood. Black adolescent girls, 29%. And Mexican American adolescent boys, 27% are most affected. Males are more affected than females, and in the United States, childhood obesity is estimated to cost $14 billion annually in direct health care expenses. As nurses, we know this, right? Because what does obesity lead to? It leads to hypertension, it leads
Yeah.
to diabetes,
Mhm.
it leads to cholesterol. Now you have coronary artery disease. You've increased your chances of having a heart attack. Literally, I can go on and on and on and on.
And I see this a lot when I do peds at cardiology. I would say 60 to 70% on a good day is us seeing children because they're having problems with high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and things like that at a young age. And it is directly related to obesity.
There's a lot of issues, that create this, right?
Hmm.
I think a
Absolutely.
lot. I think, first and foremost is, lack of nutritional education.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Um, I do think social economical status
Hmm.
also plays a big part in this. And I also feel like even I'm guilty of it. The generation of it's quick and
Mhm.
it's easy. It's Friday night. I like to make up the days of the week with funny food sayings. So like it's like fend for yourself Friday.
Right,
you know. So we're gonna fend for ourselves down at Burger King, McDonald's, whatever, whatever, whatever.
right. Well,
Everybody does it.
and that's kind of, I think, part of the problem.
It
There
is.
are some food statistics that I found to be, I don't even know, like, I was surprised and
And
disappointed,
yeah, all at the
and,
same time.
it was just a mix of emotions. The number of fast food restaurants has doubled between 1972 and 1997. The number of full service restaurants rose 35% in that same time. In the 1960s, only 21% of a family's food budget was spent dining out, whether that was fast food or a sit down restaurant. Out of the
Ugh.
house, 21%. And
Growing up, that was in my household too.
yes,
I'm not
and
trying to be funny.
in 2008, that doubled to 42%. That's almost half of their food budget is all eating out. And I would even say that it's been a while since 2008.
Hmm.
That has gone up. I can guarantee it.
I'm sure it is. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind.
There was a survey, a national survey that found 30% of children from 4 to 19 ate fast food daily. Soft drinks and other sweetened beverages have increased from 38.2 pounds in 1980 to 868 pounds by 1998. There's
That is
like no nutritional
crazy.
value in those soft drinks and most of the sweetened beverages. The ones that are juice that contain no fruit
Yes.
juice.
Hmm.
Soft drinks and juice drinks make up 6% of all calories consumed for kids from 2 to 5, age 2 to 5. It's 7% of calories for kids age 6 to 11 and more than 10% for children age 12 to 19. And soda consumption has increased in the last 20 years by 300%.
That that is crazy. But I mean, just turn on the TV. What are more than half of your commercials?
Yeah, it's all junk.
Super Bowl halftime. What are your commercials?
Crap food. I mean, really. So we are consuming our calories by drinking something that has zero nutritional value. So you're
It's
spending
true.
money on these drinks that offer zero nutritional value and contribute to obesity.
So I would like to say, you know, water technically, unless you're putting additives in it, doesn't really have a nutritional value. However, it is healthier than sodas and soft drinks because it doesn't have the additives, the sugar, the artificial sweeteners, the caffeine. Um, because even here recently, diet sodas that are supposedly are zero everything,
Mhm.
studies have come out and shown that they're not healthy either. As Ashley drinks some water as we speak.
This would be
Um,
the only bottle I drink.
I haven't had any yet. It's just been coffee. Um, but I mean, it goes to show, like, it's almost, me, it's almost like a little conspiracy here. What When you go into the grocery store, what is it that's at eye level for
Mhm.
children?
It's all crap.
At eye level, not for
Yeah,
the adult, for the children.
absolutely. And that's part of this, whole problem that we have. And I think this is part of the reason, If you talk about conspiracy theories, why so many people are upset with our government right now because they're like, oh, they're looking out for our best interests. No, they are
The hell
not.
they're not.
Because at this rate, all these things should be put in a place where it's inconvenient to get. And if you put the foods that are better for you, like whole foods, at the most convenient place, then maybe people would shop, but they don't. They put
Mm-mm,
the produce section all the way in the back of the store.
absolutely.
I mean, that's where my produce section is
Mhm.
in one of my stores, just in the back, or the
Just
perimeter of
the
the store.
checkout lines,
Hmm.
just the checkout lines.
Right.
What is in the checkout
Yeah.
lines?
Candy,
And
chips,
chips
and
and
sodas.
soft drinks.
Hmm. Or energy drinks.
Yeah, I don't even want it. That's like a whole nother topic we can talk about
Yeah.
because yeah, it does not give you wings. I'm just saying it doesn't give
It
you
doesn't.
wings.
It doesn't.
So we did talk a little bit about the effects of childhood obesity physically. And we're not just spouting this off. I mean, this is scientific. It's sitting right there on the CDC's website, right?
Hmm.
We talked about the high blood pressure. We talked about the high cholesterol and that leading to cardiovascular diseases.
Hmm.
We talked about the diabetes and being at risk for impaired glucose tolerance. Um, if it's diagnosed in childhood, they tend to consider that juvenile diabetes. However, when you're a juvenile and there's no family history of it, and you're diagnosed with type 2, which generally happens later in life and in adulthood, that's a problem, people.
Yes.
That's a big problem. That weight causes breathing problems, increases your chances of asthma and sleep apnea. Your body is not meant to carry an exorbitant amount of weight. It causes joint problems and, muscle and discomfort. You're now putting yourself at risk for fatty liver disease, gallstones, acid reflux, and if children have obesity and their obesity and disease risk factors in adulthood are likely to be even more severe. These this is everything that we briefly touched about, but it's medically proven to the point where the CDC is putting it on their website to bring awareness to the situation.
Well, and not only the physical, what you can see, but there is a big mental component to this. I mean, children that are obese can have behavior issues. They're eating high calorie foods that are typically low in nutrients. They're drinking the beverages. They're having to have medications to help them sleep. Uh, they are not getting enough physical activity because they're doing other things like watching TV. They're on some kind of screen,
Mhm.
period. I mean, that's what kids mostly are doing, and they are more prone to anxiety and depression. They have low self esteem. They self report a lower quality of life, and they have problems with bullying because there's stigma around this. There was a kid the other day, and I said, and I'm using this term loosely because this kid was 6 foot tall and 350 pounds. It was a big dude.
That's an adult. Yeah, that's adult sized kid.
And he came in having issues, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, yada, yada, yada. And he I saw his primary care doctor recently and was, having a checkup for his blood pressure and stuff. And he had some recent EKG changes. Well, his dad also had a heart attack at the age of 40, which the primary care doctor, because of his father's history, was really concerned. So sent him to, us for evaluation. And they were non-specific, nothing really to be concerned about. But the primary care doctor had like a really big heart to heart with this kid about his weight, and he really took it to heart, and she actually had told him some very small changes to make and to come back and see her in 8 weeks. He was to make one change for 30 days, and then when that's done, keep on that change and then add the other one after that, and come back and see her in 8 weeks to see how things were. and
Mhm.
he had actually lost like 35 pounds in
Do
6
you know
weeks.
what the little tweaks or changes were?
So, the first thing was to drink only water.
Absolutely, you can drop 10 in a month just by doing that.
He was consuming a lot of milk, and she's like, "You don't need milk. You eat enough dairy that you don't need milk." So, milk is only consumed with, like, if he was to have a bowl of cereal or something
Yeah.
like that. And once he got used to water only, then the next thing was to try to eliminate a type of snack. So he really likes salty snacks. So he chose to get rid of sweet snacks, but still to have snacks at times of like birthday parties, get togethers, things like that. At those events, still eat the dessert. So you're not
Yeah, it's not
eliminating it?
about eliminating it completely, and I think
No.
that's a lot of people have that misconception that
Yep.
a diet means you can never touch a certain type of food again. No,
Right.
everything's in moderation, right?
Mhm.
Even exercise in moderation.
Yep.
It doesn't mean you have to work out 5 hours a day.
No.
15 minutes. We just did an episode on yoga. Sometimes it's just 15 minutes a day, sometimes less than that. But
Right.
it's all in moderation.
And that's, I think, what she was trying to explain to him. And then I think he saw such a significant drop that he was just like cheesing, and I think he was really happy and proud of himself. And I told him, I was like, I'm really proud of you. You're doing a great job. And the doctor came in behind him, and he didn't say anything to him about like my doctor usually says, hey, these are some modifications you can make, but since he was already working with somebody, he stayed out of it. He's like, what you're
Yeah.
doing a great job. Let's, if that's already being taken care of, he was already in a really good way, and it really gave him that boost. And he's just like, yeah, he's like, I've even gotten to the point to where I'm not really snacking, but I'm still eating a whole lot at mealtime. And I'm like, dude, you've lost 35 pounds like in 6 weeks. You're
Be
doing that,
proud. It's a
you
milestone.
know?
That's a huge milestone. Like,
Yes.
celebrate it.
Yes. So he was really excited to get into a better way. But I think it was really eye opening, like, whoa, there's a problem with my EKG. I'm on these medicines. My dad had a heart attack. Like, she probably told him, like, look,
This is you
you're
sitting
not
right
you
beside
may
you.
not survive the heart attack
Yeah.
if you keep going the way you're going.
It's just so touchy because, as children and as teens, we're already trying to kind of like figure ourselves out.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, what is placed out in society, having to be a size zero and, all these unrealistic expectations of how a body is supposed to look, it kind of compounds these children that are already having these issues. So you have to be delicate in
Yes.
how you have these conversations with your children. And, you might not be the person to have this conversation with them. Maybe you need to, have your child sit with a nutritionist, a couple of times a month or every month and let them be the ones because they're the experts
Yep.
to help. You don't want to do anything unintentionally to make a depressed child who's already obese and kind of push them over the edge, unfortunately, because they're already getting so much from other people at school, on social media, and unfortunately, sometimes those things follow you everywhere you go.
Rose and I talk about it all the time. One of the things we want to discuss is prevention, because we do feel that is a key component to healthcare. You can improve family eating habits and activity levels. Kids eat what you give them to eat typically. So if you're eating foods that are more nutritious, then they will too, kind of
Mhm.
practice what you preach. And if you're active, going outside and playing with them, then maybe they'll go outside and play. Drinking water instead of soft drinks, sports drinks, and fruit juices. Trying to get those 5 servings of fruits and veggies a day. Keeping the refrigerator stocked with either fat free or low fat milk products, fresh fruits, vegetables, instead of soft drinks and snacks with, a lot of sugar and fat in them.
Well, you know
Don't
what? If you don't buy it, you don't have it. You
right,
can't eat it. So, I mean,
absolutely.
that's probably the easiest one right there out of
Mhm.
almost
It
everything
really
that you've
is.
said, right?
Don't use food as a reward or withhold food as a punishment because then you're gonna start having some bad relationships with food.
Food. That's psychological issues that you would be introducing.
Yes, and try to encourage children to eat when they're hungry and to slow down. I mean, don't eat just because you're bored. Eat when you're hungry.
Yeah. And
And
don't scarf it down. You're not in chow hall, you know?
yes, exactly.
It's not 15 minutes or you're not going to see another piece of food until the next mealtime. So, chew it. It starts, digestion starts in the mouth. And so it starts with saliva and chewing and
Mhm.
swallowing. Take your time. Enjoy your food, people.
And children are really supposed to get 60 minutes of physical activity most days of the week. So encourage them to go outside and play, do something. I tell my kids, go outside and walk. Just go
Mhm.
do something besides sitting all day because they sit all day in school, quite
They do.
honestly. And then reducing screen time to a couple of hours per day. So then that way, when they're finished with screen time, then they get up and go do something else.
And there are ways to help children who are already struggling with their weight. There's diet therapy, like we talked about, um, looking at education versus calorie restriction, what food is healthier, what should you eat more and less of, appropriate portions, even appropriate times. And that's why I feel like it's super important, to have a nutritionist. I feel like it's super important, even if you're not overweight, to have a nutritionist, but that's just my opinion. Like you said, physical activity, get out there, be physical, run, jump, play football, play basketball, play shoot. When I was a kid, hide and seek and tag. You're it,
Oh,
you
absolutely.
know,
Mhm.
just come home when the street lights, turn on. That was the rule when I was growing up. But other than that, we were out there playing, hide and seek and tag, behavior modification. Um, education is everything. Learning how to read your food labels, because just because it's one box doesn't necessarily mean it's one serving. If you read the label, you would be surprised to know that a 16-ounce bottle of anything is not one serving size, it's two. So it's very important that you're reading those labels, and start implementing healthy eating habits and staying physically active and engaging in activities that support that lifestyle. Surgery is typically only for patients that have severe medical conditions where it can improve patient outcomes. I honestly feel like most, healthcare providers and those working in the medical field, surgery should be your last option. You should have tried every single thing prior.
Yes.
If I go out today and let's say I'm going to go get a liposuction, does that really benefit me if I don't change the behaviors that led up to me getting a
No,
liposuction?
no.
No, it does not. So we need to keep in mind those types of things. Gastric bypass surgery. I've known people who have had them, lost the weight, and gained it all back.
Yeah.
And there, you actually have to go through psychological counseling prior to having that particular surgery, because of that. And it still happens. So until you have A, B, C, and D right,
Mhm.
option E shouldn't even be on the table.
Right.
That's my personal opinion.
Well, and I agree with that absolutely. And childhood obesity is different from adult obesity. It's going to take a family approach. It's not. It's going to be really hard for one individual child to make all the modifications on their own. Um, Many behaviors that contribute to childhood obesity or obesity in general are learned and they're hard to break. So we really need to make sure that we're introducing healthy foods continuously, trying to have kids slowly make good food decisions so they are used to this. That it's just it becomes natural because we
And they
want
carry that in to their adulthood.
right, because we have to remember the youth now is what we're going to have. That's going to be our future. And we want to make sure that we keep them on track and healthy and making good decisions because what's going to really matter.
You can find our resources on our website, thenursingpostpodcast.com, and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. Please share your thoughts and your opinions. We love to hear them. And thanks again for listening to The Nursing Post.